The contract implementation phase is essential since at this point that the procurement process outcome are determined and the asking entity can finally expect to benefit from their procurement request. The goal for starting the procurement process cannot be met without contract award and successful contract execution. It is the supplier's, contractor or service provider duty to carry out the terms and conditions of the contract in a way that satisfies all technical and quality requirements.
Hi, my name is Nur Izzati binti Muhammad Basri and my matrix number is AF190181. I will go over our project's cost estimation. The preliminary estimating table on the left is used to calculate the floor area method and building volume method. The calculated floor area for the floor area method is 1,267,115.716 square meters, and the total cost is 149,258,011 ringgit and 10 cents. Meanwhile, the volume calculated for the building volume method is 14,070,335.6 meters square, and the total cost calculated is 118,039,703 ringgit and 60 cents.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Asif bin Anis, AF190033. I will explain about quantity measurement. Quantity is how much of something there is measured in units that depends on what it is. So, quantity means how much of something is there, was there, or will be there. In constructions, measured quantities are usually part of a bill of quantity, which is BOQ, and show how much of something is needed to build a building or part of a building. The absence of measured amounts would necessitate that the competing bidders on a project take off the quantities on their own. The client's task of assessing the bids will be made more difficult by the presence of many bidders using potentially diverse procedures and the possibility of human error. Next is I will explain about taking off. There are 9 part lists of taking off calculation. Number 1 is excavation work, which is including excavation topsoil, surface excavation, pit excavation 1 per 3 until 3 per 3, and trench excavation. Number 2 is concrete works. Number 3, formworks. Number 4, reinforcement in stumps. Number 5 is reinforcement in pad footings. Number 6, concrete in the ground beam. Number 7 is formworks to ground beam. Number 8 is reinforcement for ground beam 1 per 2 until 2 per 2. And last but not least is number 9 is about hardcore, damp proof, cost, and concrete pad. This is our example taking off about our project groups, which is about excavation work, excavation topsoil parts. For the taking off, we need to construct a table with divided into 5 parts, which is times, dimension, result, descriptions, and remarks. First of all, we need to know about our length, which is our group length is 9.400 meter. So next we need to add the foundations. There are 2 foundations, so we need to times by 2. Get the center of the foundation, so 0.5, and our area of foundation, which is 0.3. So 2 times 0.5 times 0.3, so we get 0.3. Then we need to minus which length, which is, after that we can get 9.100. Next, we need to calculate about excavation topsoil for preserving average 100 deep. After that, we need to calculate about the preserved topsoil in temperate spoil heaps average about 10 meter distance. For the further calculations, you can get from our group report projects. That's all from me. I will pass for the next presenter.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Muhammad Yakin Makiruddin. For my part, I will talk about the bill of quantity. The item in the bill of quantity is excavation of topsoil, surface excavation, pit excavation, trench excavation, concrete works, formwork and reinforcement in stump. For the next part of bill of quantity, there are reinforcement in pad footing, concrete in ground beam, formwork in ground beam, reinforcement for ground beams, hardcore and dam-proof course, and lastly the concrete bed.
Next, I'm going to present about build-up rate calculation of 1 meter cube soil excavation. Build-up rate item. The table shown below is the item and rate for worker salary, soil excavation not exceeding 1.5 meter depth, soil excavation exceeding 1.5 meter but not exceeding 3 meter depth, spreading up soil in making up level, filling and ramming soil, cutting away remainder load, typical soil extension, and the profit. Next is cost excavation unit. We got total depth of excavation for 3.746 meter, volume of excavation 3.375 meter cube, volume of excavation exceeding 1.5 meter, 1.56 meter cube. The cost is 16 ringgit and 1 cent. Next is cost of spread up in making up level 32 cent, cost of filling in and ramming 3 ringgit and 57 cent, cost of cutting away remainder load 10 ringgit and 3 cent, profit 1 ringgit and 17 cent, cost of 1 meter cube excavation 16 ringgit 74 cent. Next is the build-up rate calculation for 1 meter cube of selected concrete grade using concrete mixer. Next, for this project, we use concrete grade 25. For the material cost, the total up value is 876 ringgit. Wastage plus shrinkage equals to 50%. So 50% from 876 ringgit equals to 438 ringgit. 438 ringgit per 4 meter cube of concrete equals to 109 and 50 cents. For the labor constant, We've got the cost material plus labor equals to 165 ringgit 35 cents. For the other information, we have key labor, general labor, and overhead. We've got the total up of each value is 18 ringgit and 13 cents. Cost material plus labor plus other information equals to 183 ringgit and 48 cents. Profit plus overhead equals to 209 and 88 cents. So cost in 1 meter cube for concrete grade 25, we've got 209 and 88 cents.
Next, breakdown of the project cost and schedule of it. There are 5 elements, which is excavation, concrete, reinforcement, bar reinforcement, concrete, and formwork. The total for the breakdown of the project cost is 39,275.21 ringgit Malaysia. Next, I will continue for the performance bond. To get the amount of the performance bond, we need to total up the contract sum by adding the prime cost sum and preliminaries. The performance security bond is 5% and we multiply with the contract sum to get the total of the performance bond, which is RM 1824.65. For the liquidated uncertain damage, the base lending rate for the main bill is 5.65%. In order to get the LED, base lending rate multiplies with the contract sum and divided by 165 days, and the amount of the LED is RM 5.64.
As for the conclusion, drawing of foundation, column stump, ground beam and ground floor give us the vision on how we will estimate the cost to build our project. Based on our conclusion and calculation, the cost of 1 meter cube excavation is RM 7 ringgit and 82 cents. Next, the cost of 1 meter cube of grade 25 concrete is RM 209 and 88 cents. And based on the bill of quantity, the total contract sum for our project is RM 36,492 and 91 cents. Thank you.